Okay, so you've clicked the link, you want more colour on what happened the last 4 years, you want to know what might happen, should we secure your vote in the upcoming PSI elections, and your confidence. Let's call a spade a spade. The last 4 years have been phenomenal, but a very, very steep learning curve, in particular the first year to 18 months. Personally, I spent the first 6 months really grappling with the fitness to practice cases. Prep time could exceed a month, but realistically, you get the papers about 5 to 7 days before the case actually happens. And those papers could be in excess of 3,000 pages. They arrive on your iPad and you have to know them inside out, back to front. There could be several cases in that day. There could be 12 to 15,000 pages that you have to review and understand and know. And as a pharmacist and community advocate, I am incredibly passionate about that, as is Roy, because the individuals involved in the case can be affected so heavily by the decisions made at that table on that day. So you have to know the cases inside out. Once I got to terms with that and started to get better at it at the 6 to 8 month mark, I started to get a little bit more confident, and I started to realize that I could begin to concentrate on some of the finer points, the finer details. And for me personally, that's communication. Communication includes who to talk to, how to talk to them, and what to talk to them about. So honestly, people inside in PSI occupy different roles. There's different staff, have different functions, and that makes sense from a corporate point of view. But the thing is, and rightfully so, those individuals don't really want to talk to you about things that are outside of their role. So you have to know who to talk to. The next thing I kind of struggled with, and this is slightly in reverse, is how to talk to them. The language of PSI is one of public health. They're really only concerned with how the profession and the professionals within the confines of that profession interact with the public from a public health point of view. And you have to know how to talk to these individuals relative to their role about public health and how the pharmacist and the pharmacies are interacting with them. Linking that back to a change that you need to make as a community advocate is incredibly difficult, but it can be done once you're experienced enough. Things that we've done once we learned all that stuff, which took about 18 months for me and maybe a bit sooner for Roy, one of the first things I did was I quizzed the then registrar on his understanding of whether or not new and young pharmacists coming into the fold were really excited about joining community pharmacy, because I had first-hand experience, albeit anecdotal, from guest lectures down in UCC that wasn't the case. Now, this is as early as 4 years ago. Now, did that in part change that day? It didn't, but it did inform change some months later, and I'm proud of that because I'm a strong advocate for the pharmacy students. I struggled as a student, so I don't want any of the students coming out after their struggles at university experiencing the difficulties that we all experience. Another thing that Roy and I worked on together is we opposed any change to the democratic system that you're engaged in right now. We love that this democratic system exists, and we absolutely won't have any change to it because it's a great system. One of the other things that we did was lately we sought assurances from the head of registration that there wouldn't be any change to the way that pharmacies will be treated relative to one another when they're experiencing chronic supervisory vacancies. What do I mean by that? Well, if we were to compare how chains may be treated versus independent pharmacies may be treated, there could potentially be differences there, and we wanted assurances that there was going to be equality between the two, and we got that, so I'm proud of that too. A lot of the learnings that Roy and I have are ones that will inform actionable change, as I keep saying, and it means that we aren't making vague promises based on observations that we all have. We know there's workforce issues. They're not emerging. They happened 2 years ago, are an ongoing problem. There are bureaucratic issues, paperwork problems, and it's continuing to mount, and it's really hindering us from utilizing the skills that we've acquired through experience and through our college education or university education. We believe in expanding the role, but we also believe in quick wins. And one of the quick wins that we really need to get off the ground once we hopefully get back in is to change how we record and register controlled drugs and their comings and goings. It's 2023, it should be electronic. So we believe that we can get that over the line, because we know that relating it back to public health is how you speak and the language that you speak within PSI House, and we know that it hinders the role of the pharmacist in there, in the community pharmacy, and we know that ultimately it stops you from being the best you can be. And if it was electronic, it would work much better. Another bigger project that we're hoping to get over the line with PSI is to have them define what a pharmacist intervention is and have them define what an error is. On the back of those definitions, our hope is to launch a pharmacist-driven and pharmacist-controlled national survey where we log incident reports and errors that we encounter on prescriptions. Errors like penicillin allergies or incorrect dosages, or we all know what they are: incorrect dates, absence of age or weight. Things that hold us up, that stop us from being as good as we could be, stop us from being able to help the patients in front of us. Because of the fractured health system in Ireland, pharmacists are working extremely hard in a system that is just too old. We'll use all of that data and information then to inform a reformed act. But we're not going to stop there. We're going to realise that an informed act is one that's going to take a long time to write, to debate, to iron out, and to have facilitated. And that's why we will use our experience in informing new statutory instruments, which are far quicker and far easier to get over the line with respect to politics in Ireland. Those statutory instruments were used throughout the pandemic to inform positive change, and we'll continue to use them to inform positive change. But it's only through our experience that we learned that. And that, to me, is a golden example of why it is that both Roy and I believe we are the best candidates for this election. So a vote for me, a vote for Roy with your preference of 1 and 2 in the upcoming PSI elections would see us re-elected, and we'd be able to act on that experience for actionable change based on learned experience, as I keep saying, for community pharmacy. Vote for Mark Jordan and Roy Hogan, number 1 and number 2 in the upcoming PSI Council elections. I really hope we get the chance to go and continue on in that great work that we were doing. And look, thanks very much for tuning in.